as a result of PAYS and the college's work with communities, we learned how to be better ourselves, how to make the institution a more accessible institution. When I arrived in 2005, the PAYS program was the Summer Scholars Enrichment Program. So that first graduating class from high school was 2006. One of the first things that I did when I arrived was figured out a way how to get the 10th graders to be able to live in residence during the 4 weeks. The first summer I was here, we were driving kids back and forth.
I remember that.
Every day, man, I was packing my car up. Yeah, we were picking them up in the morning, dropping them off at night. It was a lot. I just thought it was really important in terms of building the entire community that those students stayed on campus as early as possible. We just didn't have the human power to be making those drives. And I knew that there were families that were missing the opportunity once they saw that they were going to have to bring their kids back and forth every day, that they were not going to apply. I just thought it was really important that we minimize that challenge so we could increase access. Later, we really worked on developing the college counseling model. So that first year, those kids really did a lot on their own to get to where they were. Of course, admissions was always involved, but in terms of the actual application process, we did very little one-on-one counseling. We've also partnered with a professional SAT prep organization. One of the ways that our kids are excluded from accessing especially highly selective institutions is through the SAT. So just formalizing that and partnering with an organization that has a history of working with our students population, exposing them to small class sizes, demystifying the college experience, demystifying the professoriate, being accountable in the classroom for their own ideas to others in the classroom is something that most of them are not used to, especially in the 10th grade. So being expected to contribute to the class discussion is sometimes, this is the first time they've ever been expected to do that. PAYS, of course, has had really tremendous outcomes. Every student who has come through PAYS and finished the program has been admitted to a baccalaureate granting institution. Many of them over the years have opted to begin in community college, and the vast majority have matriculated to baccalaureate granting institutions and have done very, very well. PAYS alumni are finishing college at a rate twice as much, persisting longer, and actually graduating twice the rate of a matched comparison group. And so when I say matched comparison, what I mean is we're taking a look at students from the same school districts who were engaged in the same college-going curriculum, who are also first-gen and low-income students. That's been one of the amazing findings, but there's so much more to do. What is the role of the math curriculum in generating this incredible group of first-gen, low-income, pretty much students of color who are engaged in STEM? Not only are they STEM majors, but they're also STEM majors who are socially aware and socially conscious and have this conscientious engagement approach to the work that they do. The second one would be, we don't know programmatically which aspect of the program leads to these outcomes. We don't have our finger on the pulse of like, what exactly does all of this intentional community building that we do, what does it do for the outcomes? And the final one is really a call to action, I think, to PAYS alums in particular. We need to build an alumni database. One of my greatest teachers were some of the Summer Scholars Enrichment Program students, the SSEP students, who were teaching me and teaching the community about their experiences as undocumented students We had, for example, one student, Eloisa. Eloisa passed out pens to the community and said, you need to use this to support the DREAM Act, or to call your representative and ask them to support the DREAM Act. And at that time, we didn't know what the DREAM Act was. Hardly anybody knew what the DREAM Act was. Even a nationwide discussion about immigration in the way that it's being discussed now, it just wasn't happening at the time. That was 2005. Around that same time, there was one student in particular who I remember, Marcela Hernandez. I would drive her home, and I was so taken by her intellect. She was just always so easily engaged. I mean, she was Pomona material. Her grades were there, her scores were there, and then I learned she was undocumented. And at the time, Pomona put undocumented students into the international student pool. So more often than not, they were not admitted to the college. Dean Feldblum came in, very supportive of rethinking this policy, and so she was a key player in helping the college better itself, helping the college become more just. It was a little rough when we finally changed the policy. During the student experience, the college continued to be an exclusive space. And we learned a lot again from students. We were towing this line of, this is a burden on these first students. It was hard, and I'm thinking of their faces, many of them, the things that they had to go through and struggle through, and just the handful of them that were here, and hardly a community. As I fast forward in my head around ideas as a student group, it's a force, it's a powerful force of students, of community now. And that came from the youth, that came from their stories and their family stories of wanting more for them, and them wanting more for their families. And that came from PACE, that came from all of the students who served as TAs, who really connected with these students, made them feel at home and comfortable telling their stories to all of us and sharing in community. Sometimes stories they hadn't shared with anyone else in any other space. We have to honor that and honor their families that have really done so much for us as an institution. PACE has played such a critical role and taught us great lessons about what community work can and should be, and how the communities that surround us are knowledge producers and game changers and institutional transformers because of the stories, not in spite of their stories, but because of their stories. Those stories are powerful and can move 100-plus-year-old institutions.